J.C. Newman Cigar Studio in Boston, Massachusetts. Welcome to the Smokin Tobacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tobacco and Smokin Nicole.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tobacco Show. My name is Matt Tobacco from SmokinTobacco.com. I am joined once again by my beautiful wife, Smokin Nicole. And this week we want to welcome on a very special guest. We've been looking forward to this one for a little while now. One of our friends from Drew Estate, a lovely Drew Estate. We love Drew Estate very much. Mr. Willy Herrera. Willy, how are you? Welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? Everything good? Thank you. I know we've been talking about this, I think, since January.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah, I mean, it takes some time, and that's the thing. A lot of people don't know, like, these shows, like, coordinating and scheduling, on our side, on, like, the guest side, especially someone as busy as Willy Herrera, it takes time. So a lot of these times, these guests, these are booked out months and months and months in advance. So it's all part of what Coop likes to call pulling back the curtain, so to speak. But before we get going, we're going to talk about what we're smoking on our Cigar Blondie accessories segment. Willy, as our guest, you get to go first. What are you smoking tonight?
Liga Privada H99.
Oh,
Oof.
oh, I love that cigar. It's so good. I have to say, I mean, altogether, I mean, I've smoked almost all of them now. Yeah, that one's. I'd have to smoke probably like one more, but I think it's in my top two. If it's not number one, it's number two. It's very, very good. I think that one came out very well. Fantastic cigar. Nicole, what are you smoking?
I'm smoking the Herrera Esteli, but the Brazilian, the Maduro.
That's a good one.
Yes.
That one's
It's
really
one of my
good.
favorites.
I'm going to smoke the Herrera Esteli Habano in the Toro size as well. And our accessories tonight, our cutters and lighters, brought to you once again by Cigar Blondie. Beautiful cutters and lighters, really stylish. That signature blade flame on the lighter, really slim, really compact lighter, really good quality. Coop and I talked about this a few weeks ago in the Spare Notes series. Just really high quality stuff, really nice stuff. So go ahead and check it out. Also, the boxes come in smart packaging, brought to you by Humidif Group. We can use that near field communication technology, and it'll bring up the Cigar Blondie website, get all the information, and where to buy it. Alrighty, I'm just going to get this lit. So, Willy, welcome to the show. I know this is your first time. I think, who else from Drew Estate's been on? I know Joe Grove's been on. Has
Hey.
Jack hasn't been on yet?
No, but Pedro was on, right?
Was Pedro on?
I think so.
I don't remember that.
Maybe
He
we were
definitely
on.
do if he was, but because it would have been a long time ago. I can't
Yeah.
remember if Pedro was on, but
I think he was. I
But
think it
needless
was
to
last
say,
year.
there has been a few Drew Estate people on the show before. Also, Nick Laramie, my New England rep for Drew Estate, he was on the show. So this has definitely been a long time ago. We haven't had someone from Drew on in a little while, so I felt that it was definitely time. So really excited about this. Willy, I wanted to dive into I know you have kind of a shorter window, so it's going to be kind of a tighter show tonight, guys, just as a heads up. I think we probably won't get to the top three, but we're definitely going to do our news. Quick shout out to everyone on the LFD Discord. For those watching, there's your shout out. Yes, we will get to the LFD NFT at the news segment, so hang on. We will talk about it. But for right now, we're going to talk about Willy. Willy, I just want to kind of go a little bit quicker than normal. You started out, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if this is where you actually began, but I know at one time you were the master blender at El Titan de Bronze down in Miami. That's correct, right?
Yep, that's
Now,
where I started the family business.
That's where you started. And how long were you with them before you came over to Drew Estate?
Well, it depends how you look at it. So I had always been involved in the family business, just never really in the tobacco side, cigar making side. Been a smoker for many, many years, probably age 15, 16, I started smoking cigars. They started the company in 95, 96. So I was always involved with them, helping them out. A lot of, backdoor type of stuff. But it wasn't until I would say late 90s, early 2000s when I became involved in the tobacco side for the company. And that's when I really started to learn, this side of the business, not just the retail side.
Right. More like the blending and the tobaccos and that whole process. Um,
Well, it all came out of necessity, in a sense. I tell people all the time, and I say it in a lot of these, interviews and stuff like that. I wasn't fortunate enough to, have a dad, grandfather, somebody, a lineage of someone in the cigar industry. So I kind of had to learn, as I went along. And I say that out of necessity because if we didn't sell, we didn't eat. If we didn't make cigars and different cigars, people wouldn't buy cigars. We've always been a storefront, and depended heavily on walk-ins. And because of where we're located in Little Havana, there's a lot of it and constant foot traffic coming through that area. Um, Especially back then, where at that time when I was there was about 5 different cigar factories in that Little Havana area. So a lot of people that were going on cruise ships, they had a layover. They were walking up and down Little Havana, visiting the cigar shops, buying cigars for the cruise ships, or people that had a layover to for a connecting flight or something. They will come down and buy cigars that were somewhat harder to find in retail shops. A lot of the factories only sold certain cigars out of their stores, out of their locations. And then other people that were driving down to like go to Key West, they would stop by Little Havana as well. So it was no marketing, no advertising, no salespeople. It was just a lot of walkthroughs. And when I started there, we had basically 2 cigars, a natural and a Connecticut. And I wanted to expand that, primarily for myself because they weren't hitting my palate. I was used to a different type of cigar by that time. And so rather than continue to buy cigars and smoke those in the factory and continue to hear my wife's grandfather, complain, why am I smoking this cigar and that cigar, and why am I spending so much money, and I have as many cigars as I want in the factory, so on and so forth. I kind of took it upon myself to start figuring out, what to make with all these tobaccos that we had, which were very limited. We probably had at any given time 6 to 8 different tobaccos, just because of the size of our factory.
right.
And so, you know, I would grab some tobacco based off of smell, and bring it over to one of the rollers and have them make something. Um, but the rollers get paid by how many cigars they roll. So typically at the time they were rolling 100 cigars. Now we have Cuban rollers in the factory, where the Cuban roller is different from Dominican, Nicaragua, Honduras, where they work in pairs. So the main difference is, the Cubans, they create the bunch, they fill the molds, they press them, and then they put the wrapper themselves. Where in pairs, you have one solely putting wrapper on the cigars, and the other solely putting creating the bunches, filling up the molds.
Right.
Well, you can imagine every day I'm coming up to one of these guys with tobacco. Hey, make this. Hey, make that. They started to fall behind on the production. And now they were having to either stay later to complete the 100 cigars that they had to make, or come in earlier the next day to complete the 100 from the day before. So it became a problem. So at that point, I said, well, I got to learn how to make a cigar. And
You can't
so
be slowing
I
down
bought
the
a
staff.
cigar. It became an issue. It became an issue. And so I wanted to continue to learn and continue to come up with different blends, stuff that I enjoyed, but I couldn't have them make it for me anymore. So what I did was I would stare at what they were doing, then I would go in the back and grab the same tobacco and try to do a bunch and fill a mold, and that took a little while, and then I finally got the hang of that, and then I had to learn how to put the wrapper on a cigar and how to do the triple cap, how to put the cap at the end, and all that. So I finally learned how to make cigars, and then just every day was blending different stuff, having fun, and that's when I really started to learn how one tobacco works with another tobacco, how a binder works with a certain wrapper, and what binder works with certain C varieties in the filler, and it was just a whole combination of things and great learning experience.
So really, you're self-taught. I mean, you kind of figured this all out, and you figured out. So you're telling me that you figured out roll, and I didn't even know this until now. You figured out how to roll based on just watching the rolls. No one sat you down and was like, "This is how you roll." You just watched them roll and kind of just kept practicing on your own until you felt like, "Hey, I think I got it."
Yeah, I mean, once when you have a good bunch, when you fill the mold right, when you
Mhm.
make the cigar, you take it out of there and you put that wrapper on it. If that thing is so, you can't draw, it's too tight. Well, okay, I got to put less tobacco. Or you're getting too much air. Okay, it's too loose, and it's not getting the ring gauge it's supposed to get once you get it out of the mold. You know, they would walk by occasionally when they were going to the back or going to get tobacco. Oh, no, no, place the cigar like this, or put the bunch like this in your hand, or tear like this and put it like that. And I mean, I would get tips, but I never really had somebody sit down next to me and
Mm.
watch me do it. It was solely like you said. I would look at them, then I'd go back, sit down, and kind of mimic what they were doing until I got the hang of it.
And so I assume even to this day, you're working on new blends, you're working on new projects. I mean, you're always working on new stuff. Do you still go through in the factory that process of you take the tobaccos yourself, you roll them yourself, and figure it out on your own, kind of like you used to do back then?
Absolutely, man. That way I'm assured, you know, that if the blend calls for a leaf and a half of a certain tobacco, or half a leaf of a certain tobacco, or a quarter leaf of a certain tobacco, I know that's exactly one into that bunch. You know what I mean? Um, the guys could do it, but for me, I'm just so used to always working on those blends myself that that's just the way it is. And I got accustomed to that.
Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you about this process, especially now where you are now, one of the things I've heard, and I haven't been down to any of the big major factories yet, so I've never really had that experience. But I have these conversations with a lot of manufacturers and blenders specifically. When it comes to the blends down in the factory, when you're working on a cigar, that's something that you kind of keep close to the vest, so to speak, because you don't want everyone to know like exactly you know what your recipe is for your cigar that you're making. So is it true that even the rollers in the factories, they don't even really know the full makeup of it? It's kind of like, all right, use this and put this together, and they you guys kind of break it up. I've heard that some factories, that's how they do it. No one really has like the full recipe in the rolling room, or only the rollers do, or something like that. I don't know if you can speak on that whole process, the way you guys kind of, or maybe Drew doesn't do it, but other factories I know have alluded to they're really careful with who knows the full blend recipe too.
Well, you know, they get all the rollers or the buncheros, the people that create the bunches, the people that fill the molds. They have a blank card. Now, on that blank card, it does not have all the details. For example, if I'm using a specific Seco from X farm, X supplier, and then I'm using a Viso from Y farm, Y supplier, and then a Ligero from another, they don't have those details.
Okay.
They just know, okay, the Seco we're putting X amount, the Visos we're putting X amount, and the Ligeros we're putting X amount. But as far as all the details, makeup of the blend, like they leave and they want to go to get that same cycle, they don't know where that came from. They don't know what supplier it is. They don't know what farm it is, because one thing about tobacco, a supplier will have multiple farms. They will
Right.
have farms. If you're talking about Nicaragua, in Esteli, in Jalapa, in Condega, in Ometepe, but now, which one of those farms and one of those areas is that tobacco coming from? Because that impacts what that tobacco tastes like. You could get, three different tobaccos from the same supplier from a same region, and all three are going to taste slightly different, even from the same region. So yeah, no, they don't get that. They just know, hey, here's the Seco Viso Ligero. Put 3 leaves, put half a leaf, and put 1 leaf, and that's it. That's all they know.
That's all they need to know. Yeah,
Hmm.
very interesting. Like I said, we haven't been down to any of the factories and through and seen it and really firsthand. But I pick up on little things, and whenever we have, especially we have someone who blends on the show, it's always a good time, and it's always interesting because I feel like it's some of the most educational conversations that we have, if not for the audience, of course, who's listening and watching. That's a big part of it. But even for us too, like there's a lot of details that I save and stuff that I purposely don't read about ahead of time because I want that reaction on the show, and it makes it fun. But yeah, little stuff like that I always find very interesting. Just kind of the little tidbits of how kind of things work, behind the scenes. I always found that interesting, but of course it makes sense. Now, since you've come over to Drew Estate, we have the Herrera Esteli cigars, and you've worked on other projects as well. What would you say so far in your time working at Drew Estate and all the cigars that you have out now? What was the one project I would say, or I would ask you, is probably the most challenging for you to put together and really bring to market from the beginning to end? What was the most challenging cigar that you blended and put together?
And that's a tough question to say any particular cigar,
Especially as a blender. I
because
mean,
they've all been challenging. And what I mean by that is, take the Herrera Steli Habano, the one you're smoking. You know, first cigar come out with, press release, Willy Herrera leaves El Titan de Bronze, joins Drew Estate. I'm living over there for about a year and a half, and I'm working on this blend. And everybody's entirely anticipating this new cigar that this new guy now with Drew Estate is going to come out with. So a lot of pressure there. Then you jump to, say, the Undercrown Shade, the very first cigar that I blended for Drew Estate once I became the master blender for the company. Because up to that point, I wasn't blending anything else outside of the Herreras that fell, the cigars that fell underneath the Herrera umbrella, I call it.
hmm
So I was there for the purpose of expanding the traditional cigar side of cigars, and kind of bring that feel from Miami and how I learned in Miami into Drew Estate. So when they made me the master blender, the first task was on the Crown Shake. Well, that was monumental for me and tough because number one, it was the first cigar, you know, that's for the company outside of a Herrera, something carrying my name. And number two, I've never been really a milder smoker. I've never been a Connecticut shake guy.
Hmm.
So now I'm working with tobaccos that I haven't worked much with. Um, then you jump into Liga Privada number 10, 10-year anniversary. Liga Privada Anniversario, Liga 10. Now I have to come up with something that has to live up to Liga Privada, the number 9, T52. So it's every cigar, it has its mountain you have to overcome. You just can't pick one, and they all they all have their things you have to fight through. Whether it's you're working with a new tobacco, a certain size that maybe is out of the norm. Uh, it's hard to pick one, man.
Would you
That's
say it was
there.
more pressure working on Liga Privada being an established brand and Liga and like you said number 9 T52 and be like, okay, I have to add to this family that everyone already knows, versus kind of like that, like you talked about your first cigar, it's that first one with your name on it, but you're new and this and that. Would you say it was harder to contribute to Liga Privada than coming up with your own the Herrera line from the beginning?
No, I'd say Liga, the anniversary would have been the hardest, only
Mm,
because it had to live up to Liga Privada. It
right.
had to live up to number 9. It had to live up to T52. You already have this halo brand of the company that anything else that comes out with that name is going to be scrutinized that much more. Is it going to live up to the Liga Privada name? So yeah, I'd say the 10 probably would be the hardest. Would fall in the top of that category that what you're asking.
Yeah. Yeah, I always find it curious, especially someone who's a blender, a master blender. What was the hardest one? Because people just think like, oh, this master blender, they probably crank these cigars out. This is their craft, and it is, and I'm sure, I'm sure it seems easy, but for you, I'm sure it doesn't seem easy too. No one really probably understands, the mental part of it for you, just always thinking about it, trying to figure it out, or the pressure of like, this has got to be good. The last four were good. If this one sucks, people are going to think I'm done. So it's like there's got to be, a lot of mental pressure there too. Now, I know that I'm moving a little quickly tonight, but I wanted to bounce on something. You were at Barn Smoker this past weekend, correct? The one in Connecticut?
Yes.
Now, Nicole was there as well. I unfortunately couldn't be there. I had to be down in Florida on some other stuff, but Nicole was actually on hand. So, Nicole, I wanted to give you a second to maybe just, we have Willy here. It's Drew Estate night here at Smokin Tabacco, so I figured why not have you touch just a little bit on your time at the Barn Smoker?
No, it was a crazy thing to see. I mean, not that I went in with any expectations, but it was a very well put together event. Pre-party, I loved, of course. Pre-party was so much fun. In the New England Air Museum hangar, that was different. I thought that was kind of a cool place to have it. And then the actual event, I didn't think there was going to be as much education as there was involved. And I know that was only a small part of the day. But I loved the way, and I don't know if it had been set up like that before with each station or whatnot, but I thought it was a very smooth sort of transition for all the groups to then learn about all the different, parts of the farming process and whatnot. So I loved it. It was fun.
And you smoked your first Liga 10.
I did.
What did you think of it?
It was great.
What did you like about it? Out of curiosity.
It was full-bodied. It was very smooth for me. I mean, as you know, for me, I don't love a lot of pepper, so it was not like super peppery or anything like that, which like subtle notes, I feel like.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah. That's how I felt about H99. Yeah. Because the first time I had H99, I didn't really know what to expect, but I first lit it up and I started smoking. I got probably into the first third, and I was just like, wow. I don't know why, but I'm like, this is nothing what I expected. Not that I expected to be bad or good. I really didn't really know what to expect, but I was thinking like number 9, 52, just really like a lot going on. I was like, wow, this is very different, and I really, really enjoy it. It's very smooth. It's very refined, I think is the word. I think it's very refined, and I think it's an awesome cigar. And now I understand why everyone just has to have their hands on it. It's just a really good cigar. But no, I wanted to touch on that too, because obviously that's a big event, and the Barn Smoker is something that's been going on for a little while now. And really, how long has Barn Smoker been a thing?
Ooh, 7, 8 years.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, and the concept, is not everybody gets to go down to Nicaragua on a cigar safari.
Yeah.
So the idea of the Barn Smoker is to give you guys a taste of the cigar safari. Go through that process of the tobacco in the field, the curing barn, how you blend the tobacco. It's a little taste of what you'd expect or what you get when you go to the cigar safari. Obviously, it's 4 days, 3 nights, fully immersed in tobacco. So you're seeing every step of the process from pre-industry, where you're fermenting the tobacco, all the way to packaging of the cigar. But the Barn Smoker is kind of a taste, give you a little bit of everything as far as the making of cigars and the growing of the tobacco and the curing of the tobacco, all the way up to the fermentation process, which is really what you don't see there, and the making and the packaging of the cigars. But yeah, the Barn Smokers, we've always done those different stations to give you a little bit of each step along the way.
Yeah, very interesting. I I wish I could have gone. Like I said, I'm gonna try to catch one of the next ones, or maybe next year. I got my schedule kind of mixed up, but fortunately Nicole was still able to go, and she had an amazing time. So I'm really glad that she got to go and see that. We had a question here in the chat. I wanted to go back to, where is it? I
Right
saw
Right there.
there it is, from Johnny Mitchell. What is his favorite go-to cigar? What is your favorite go-to cigar?
Arresto y Habano.
It's a great cigar. that I'm smoking. So that's your everyday.
My go-to.
Mm.
That's my everyday. It's gonna give me what I need every single time I smoke it. Specifically that Lonsdale size for me. That's where that blend really shines, and it just hits my palate right every single time. And if I don't have Lonsdales, then I go with the short Corona Gorda.
So do
in
you?
the same line.
So do you prefer? Maybe not. At least in those. So you prefer a smaller ring gauge.
Absolutely.
Now, would you say that's a universal or just in that cigar?
For me, it typically doesn't matter the blend, unless obviously it only comes in a Toro or a Robusto. I typically don't go over 52 ring gauge for my smoking preference. But if it's available in a 44, 46, 48, that's where I'm at.
Do you think that a cigar shines better in a smaller ring gauge? Do you think that the blend is more balanced? We've had this conversation. People are always throwing their opinions at, the bigger the better, or a smaller cigar. As a master blender, what is your opinion on that conversation?
It depends on the blend.
Yeah.
Some blends smoke better in certain sizes. For me, the Habano, I love how it hits me in that Lonsdale size or that Corona size. In the Brazil, for example, I go with the Robusto. It's a different blend. It hits me different and the way I want it to in a Robusto size. The Lonsdale doesn't really do it for me in the Brazil. In Norteño, it's Corona Gorda, the Lonsdale size as well, or the Toro. It all depends on the blend.
Right.
Every cigar is going to smoke different within a line, and so there's always going to be that one size that every consumer smoking it is going to gravitate towards. It depends on the blend. That's been my experience. And one thing I tell people all the time, especially when it's a new line, a new cigar that's coming out, don't stick to that one size only that you always smoke. Like if you're a Toro guy, don't just stick to a Toro. And anything new that comes out, venture out, try different sizes within that line, because you just might find, that you love that blend in a different size, because they're all going to smoke different.
Yeah, and we've had that discussion on the Spare Note show. Coop and I did a show, I want to say a few months ago. We did, the size really matter conversation show. And that's something that even myself, I've criticized myself with that. I don't smoke enough sizes. I haven't, I traditionally stay within that Toro size range, and in the last couple of months, I've actually said, what, I gotta be more universal, and I gotta step outside that. And I've actually lately I've been smoking a lot of smaller formats. So the Lonsdales, the Coronas, I've been smoking a lot more of those, and I find that I'm really enjoying them in certain blends that I was like, I like this a lot. And like in a Toro, I smoke them in a smaller format, and I'm like, wow, this is even better. So it's fun to hear you say that, because I couldn't agree more, and I've actually experienced it. Like, wow, I was one of those people. I was stuck in the Toro land. I was like, I just smoke Toros. And then I started really getting into a lot of smaller formats lately, and I've been having a hell of a time with a lot of cigars. We have another question here. Now, I believe this is in reference to the Freestyle Live that Drew Estate announced earlier this week. Willie, how long did you work on the new cigar that DE is unveiling in late September?
About a year, or just about a year, maybe a little bit past it. It's we're constantly working on stuff, even things that we don't have a name for or an exact home for yet. I'm constantly working on different things, different blends that pop up in my head, new samples of tobaccos that we get into the factory. Fortunately for me, having a factory here in Miami, we use a lot of the same tobaccos that we get at Drew Estate as well. So when I'm not in Nicaragua, I'm working on blends and stuff here. As a matter of fact, I sent an email today to Nicaragua based off of a blend that I worked here in Miami a few weeks back. So it's a constant thing. And my view on that is, the more blends and finished products, as far as aged cigars that you have sitting in the shelf, when a new project does come up, you just saved up to a year. Because if you come up with a project, we discuss a project today, hey, we're going to come up with X cigar, and this is what we're looking for. If you start from scratch now, that's a process. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be a year and a half. But if you have blends already sitting there that you've worked on, that you like, and you're talking about this new project, you're like, oh man, I have a blend that will fit that. Boom, you just jumped ahead up to a year. You know what I mean? Because the cigars are already aged, they're made, and all you got to do is smoke them and get them approved with the team.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear, how long it, goes into certain projects and whatnot. And, and every project's different, like you said. And, there's people that have come on here and been like, hey, we've been working on this for the last 3 years. By the time, like Perdomo, I know was on here one time, was like, oh, we started this project 3 years ago. Like when I first planted the tobacco, and I was like, it begins, literally at the seed. Like, we're going to plant this now, and then in 2 years from now, we can roll it, and then it's going to sit, and the whole thing. So, yeah, and some, like you said, some take longer than others. It is quite a process. But since that was brought up, I do want to take a quick second and highlight Freestyle Live in September. Is this the fourth one or the third one? You guys have already done a handful of these already, and they're honestly, they're awesome. I think this is the fourth one. Because you had Undercrown 10, 20 Acre Farm, Nika Rustica Adobe. Yeah, I think this is number 4. So, which, by the way, has been another great addition to Drew Estate. I think that it's a really fun project. That blind tasting and trying the cigar and figuring it out, and then the unveiling. It's very cool, and it's an interesting way that I think you guys are introducing new products to the market. In the way that you do it, and it kind of brings the consumer in a little bit more versus just being like, oh, okay, here it is. This is it. Oh, all right, cool. Well, I can't wait to try it. It's this whole experience, and
Right.
definitely very innovative, I have to say. And right off the bat, the first one's successful. Undercrown 10, that was the first one, and that cigar went on to win Cigar of the Year in most places, especially here. 2021 Cigar of the Year, Undercrown 10 Toro. So congrats with all that. Success too with Freestyle Live. We have a comment. I didn't want to glaze over this. We have a comment on YouTube, and I wanted to bring this up myself too. Yeah, go back. Your beard, brother. God damn. I have to say, you have one of the best beards in the game. I mean, do you like that? It looks like it's just perfect every time I've ever seen you. It's amazing. I mean, it's
a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work.
I'm sure it is.
It's a lot easier just to shave every day, man.
I've contemplated going that
it's
long. I just don't think I can do it.
It started off as the whole COVID beard. We're gonna be home because we were off the road, and I'm like, let's just let this thing grow out. I've never done it before, whatever, and it just, it became this ritual thing, blow drying it every night and combing and the trimming and the this and that. So, we'll see how long it goes for.
Well, so far you're rocking it. You're pulling it off. So you're off to a good start. I do want to hit that, but before we do, I want to hit the news really quick, and then we'll do that on the second half.
Okay.
So our news this week is brought to you once again by Micallef Cigars. If you head over to micallefcigars.com today, you can sign up to become an official Micallef ambassador, where you're going to get your Micallef ambassador coin and ambassador number. And while you're at it, head over to Facebook and join the Micallef Ambassadors Facebook group and hang out with all of your fellow Micallef ambassadors. It's a great time. There's some great people in there. Shout out to Micallef ambassadors. I know there's some of them here. Dan Thompson's watching. Dan Thompson, what's going on, buddy? All right. Everybody knows what the news is this week. I already kind of teased this one. It's been a kind of a big deal. It's been the thing I've been covering the most in the last 5 days. The LFD NFT. I think, first of all, I'm going to say, going into this, I think a lot of people were just kind of like skeptical. They didn't really know what to think. I think some people either just didn't get it, or some people were just like, this is like some kind of like scam thing. And the first 3 have already sold. And I think after those first 3, I think a lot of people kind of went like, oh, shit. Wow, this is legit. Number 1 sold for $85,000. Number 2 sold for $78,000, and the third one yesterday sold for $90,000. The first 2 were sold to Alexander Martinez of Main Street Cigars in New Jersey. He now owns the first 2, and the third one went to a private anonymous buyer who would like to remain anonymous. So, and my understanding is that I don't think it's a retailer, so I don't think that these cigars are going to be sold. So that means only 2 so far are actually going to be up for sale. Now, for those who don't know, the LFD NFT is not just an NFT with a non-fungible token. You do get that, but in addition, each one comes with a numbered gold bullion humidor and 50 of the 6 1/4 by 40, is it 44 Lonsdale-ish size Andalusian bull, which is exclusive to these NFT owners. They're the only ones that will have access to them from LFD. From there, they're free to sell them, which I think most of them are going to do. But and they will get the chance to buy 70 of those per month from La Flor Dominicana. So a lot of hype around this. It's been kind of a big deal. Like I said, a lot of retailers bidding on this because they want to buy these for inventory.
And what's the current bid? Because they're in the 4th auction.
So
right?
the 4th one, as of
It
this
ends tomorrow at
afternoon,
noon.
as of this afternoon, I had it ready on my phone here. It was at 77,000. Let me check. I believe it still is. A lot of the hard bidding doesn't really go on until it's at 77,777 by Matul Shah, who's been bidding pretty aggressively throughout this whole process, but has yet to come away with one of the NFTs. This is actually the fastest and highest that any of them have gone at this point. Normally we don't get that high until like the last hour, but this one it ends. What do we got? 16 hours to go. We're already at 77,000. I'm feeling that the rest of the way, these are going to fetch some pretty high numbers, especially as less are available. That FOMO kicks in. I think you're going to start seeing these go for 90, maybe even over 100,000 by the time we get to 6 and 7. I really believe that's possible. So, it's just kind of a huge deal. It's been dominating the news, at least for us. We've been doing a full coverage on it. I was at the kickoff last week. There was no regular show. We were doing the kickoff party with La Flor Dominicana. For those of you guys who saw, I was with John Carney, Tony Gomez, Lito Gomez Jr. down in Miami at Empire Social Lounge. And we had a really great time. But that was the official kickoff, and now we are about halfway through this, and it's been wild. It's been crazy. I don't know how much of that you've covered, Willie, or anyone at Drew Estate, but there's been some talk. And we said, well, so if another manufacturer was to do this, who could do something like this? And I'll be honest with you, 3 names came up right away: Fuente, Drew Estate, and then maybe one of the other big ones, maybe like Altadis or General, someone like that. Is this something that you've heard Drew Estate talking about? Maybe doing an NFT?
No, I haven't.
It's interesting.
But then again, I don't get too involved in that, nor do I understand it. I stick to tobacco, the factory. That's like my happy place there, and my plate is pretty full just handling that.
Now, one thing I have to say, because I promised a large group of people that I would bring this up on the show, but I'm not going to get into it because that's not what we're here for, but I'm going to live up to my promise. After that, so La Flor Dominicana announced when these LFTs, come out and they're done, they're never going to make any more sizes of the Andalusian Bull. It'll be the original Andalusian Bull that won Cigar of the Year, and then there's going to be this one that's exclusive to these owners. And then Tony said, that's it. When I'm not making any other sizes, there's going to be only 2 sizes that I make. Well, there is a private Discord room for this, and Tony's in there, and everyone's in there to discuss, this whole thing that's going on. And there's a lot of consumers in that group that are starting a revolt against Tony Gomez, and they're demanding that Tony make a large format size of the Andalusian Bull. He says he won't do it. I don't know. It's kind of a hot topic right now with a lot of LFD smokers. They all want a giant size of the bowl. I don't know why, but they do. So that is the push. I brought it up on the show. You're welcome. Maybe Tony will do it. Maybe we'll change his mind. I don't know. Carney's definitely going to say no, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, that's news for this week. Had to cover that. It's been kind of a big deal this week. But anyway, back to Willy. I wanted to bring up. So there's one part someone brought up that I was actually going to ask you about anyway. The Raji. So recently you worked on the Raji with Abe, which is a very, very special cigar for them. But tell us a little bit more about that project. That kind of being one of the more recent Herrera Esteli projects. And
then also, I had seen the blend with Vintage.
yes.
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 So those two blends.
So yeah, the Raji, that's pretty special because that's another cigar I was able to blend out of the family's factory, Altai in the Bronze.
Yep.
And kind of get creative with the tobaccos we have. We have a lot of the same tobaccos, but we also have a lot of different tobaccos that we don't have at Drew Estate. So blending that cigar, kind of takes me back to like the Herrera Esteli Miami, kind of sitting there back to the roots, sitting in your table and have there, it's a little bit different from when you're sitting in the factory in Drew Estate. Obviously it's much larger, a lot more choices of tobaccos, but very special and very different from the Herrera Miami. That's got a blend of Dominican Nicaraguan tobaccos with a Mexican San Andres wrapper and a Nicaraguan binder, and it's a fuller bodied Herrera. I would say it's even fuller than the Miami Herrera Esteli. But yeah, very special project. A lot of hands on with Abe. He came down to the factory with his dad during the project, and just fun times, man. Those are always exciting.
Yeah.
And then
oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
the vintage, I was able to work again with the broadleaf. That's one of those tobaccos that we have in the factory that we don't have enough of for the existing lines that we have, which is the Liga Privada number 9. But that project, I was able to allocate a certain amount, being that it was a smaller run for vintage, and get creative with that wrapper.
Yeah, that was a I think we first got our hands on that one was that TPE?
What?
We ran into those guys. I think that's when we first got those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really cool to see, and of course the Raji, that was a really fun one to see, which I haven't had that one actually yet, and it was funny because I was just at Smokin over the weekend, and I completely just like blanked on that. I'm like, I should have grabbed these. I'm right here, but no, I've heard nothing but great things about it, and that was obviously a great one to bring up, and I wanted to bring that one up. But moving forward, is there anything you can tell us about? I know there's the Freestyle Live that's coming up, and that's kind of a new project too. But in addition to that, is there anything else that you can tease for us that we might be seeing coming out that you're currently working on? Maybe you're almost done with. Maybe you're starting. Anything you can maybe tease for us? I always try to get something. I always try to get something out of people when they come on.
Well, two things. You definitely want to get your hands on the Freestyle Life Pack. You're gonna be blown away by that. Big news, and great cigar. And then the last little tease I'm gonna give out is, I've been with Drew Estate over 10 years now. So we're kind of due for a Herrera anniversary type cigar. Herrera 10-year anniversary, Herrera something. So be on the lookout for that.
Ooh, okay. Something maybe we see at TPE in the beginning of next year?
Who knows?
Yeah, okay.
You never know.
Okay. I always try. Everyone's usually tight-lipped. I get it, but I try. We got, speaking of LFD, it was a few months ago when Lito Gomez was on the show. We were just talking, and I had heard about something that was going on, and I didn't think he would say it. And he was like, "Oh yeah, we have the new Solus coming out at the show," and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't think he was going to let that one out of the bag, but I was like, okay. So sometimes I always go for it. Maybe they'll slip up. Maybe they'll slip out a new project. Well, this, because you never know. But it's really exciting. It's always fun. Like I said before, when Drew Estate's launching new projects, it's always really fun to be a part of and see. And you guys make it so interactive, especially with the Freestyle Live. I haven't smoked a cigar yet, obviously, but maybe I'm overthinking it. But I was looking at it and I was like, I was following kind of like the themes of the first few, like the colors and the style and then what that cigar came to be. And I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy here, but I have a very far-fetched stab in the dark here of what this one might be, and I think it's an undercrown. I think it's an undercrown, and my guess would be, especially you look at undercrown, Liga Privada. Stab in the dark. And I know you won't tell me. But I'm just going to say it for the sake of having it on record. Stab in the dark. It's an undercrown with Corojo or Criollo. Stab in the dark. I don't know. I don't know why. That's just what came to my brain. And I said, I don't know why. That's just what I felt when I saw it. And I texted it to Jack, and he was like, "I'll never tell." And I was like, "Well, you'll tell when it comes out." But okay. So I don't know. That's what I'm going with until I smoke it and I can actually taste it and can, maybe make a better assessment. That's just my rough guess. I don't know. I'm excited to see. I don't know. Like I said, the first few were great cigars and it was really fun. So this one we definitely look forward to. Are the Freestyle packs available yet? Have those gone out yet? I can't remember.
I don't think they're out yet.
Okay.
I think it was just the announcement right now, but they should be coming shortly.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And that's that will be in September, I believe. Mm-hmm. That's end of September. I want to say end of September. That's when it'll, be unveiled. That's when it ends.
Towards the end of September. Yeah.
Yeah. So we look forward to that. So guys, definitely make sure you check that out. If you've never done the Freestyle Live Pack, make sure you check that out. 100%. It's worth it. It's great. And there's usually other stuff that comes in it too.
They do a giveaway.
There's a giveaway. I think they're giving away. I should have brought it up. I have it on my website too.
It's always something crazy.
Here it is. I got it. There's a Dodge Charger being given away. There's a Gibson guitar being given away. You guys did a Bitcoin, I think, for the last one. I think you guys gave away a whole Bitcoin. So that was crazy.
Side by side, we've done Bitcoin, we've done Jeeps.
Yeah.
Always something big, and this is pretty big too, and it's pretty exciting. Like I said earlier, it's a phenomenal cigar, and I think everybody's gonna be blown away. Might be an undercrown, who knows? That maybe you're right.
Oh, hope so. I like undercrowns. No, I'm excited either way. It could be something out of left field. It could be a whole new line. It could be a different line. It could be undercrown. Who knows? I don't know. It's definitely exciting, and like I said, definitely check it out. You can read about more of it on smokintabacco.com if you head to the website. The press release is up. It went up yesterday. Oh, yeah, so it's right here. Wednesday night, September 28th from 7 to 9 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. The Freestyle Live will be unveiled, and we always look forward to that. It's always a great time. So in addition to that, we are getting towards the end of the hour of the show, and Willie, I know that your time's kind of tight tonight, so I want to try to stick to that for you. But before we go, anything else that you want to touch on that maybe we didn't, or anything else you want to say, plug, promote, anything like that, that while you have this opportunity?
No, man, I think we've covered it all. A lot of exciting news, a lot of things that are in the works. Want to wish the Freestyle Live in September is a big one. Like I said, I can't speak enough about the cigar. And once it's revealed what it is, I think people are gonna love it. And it's just really exciting, man. And it's equally as exciting to hear, what people think. Like you just said, oh, I think it's this, or I think it's that. And then to see their faces once they're told what it is, it's a lot of fun.
Judging by your facial expression, I can see you being excited. But I feel like whatever this is, I mean, you seem like you're holding back a lot of excitement over there.
Well, hey man, I can't let it all out of the bag here. We saved that for Freestyle Live,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be exciting for sure, to say the least.
Yeah, it's. I can't wait. Like I said, the first three were great. So I think that's gonna be the highlight of the show tonight. Is Freestyle Live. Make sure you get it. Make Willie proud. Buy them all, and then when the cigar comes out, buy all those too. But no, Willie. I mean, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. It's been a great time. It's hard to get a lot of information in this 1 hour. And it's
Right.
because we could go for 3 more hours. I get questions for hours, but I try to whittle it down. So, but thank you, just really thank you for being here. Like I said, we've been planning this for a while, and it was a great time. So,
Yeah,
we look.
definitely. And hey, you always got Kentucky Barn Smoker coming up
That's true.
as
When
well.
when is Kentucky
And
Barn
you
Smoker?
that one is and that's actually a really really cool one, because the process of that fire curing is very different from any of the other barn smokers. So you actually experience something there that you don't get at any of the other ones.
Right.
And that one's the 30th and the 1st of October.
Wow. Okay.
I always tell people that's the most unique of all the barn smokers, just simply because of that process, that fire curing process. And when you're in that barn and you experience that, being in that barn, and you're like, wow. So now I understand why the tobacco tastes that way. It's really a cool experience.
So people who go to that actually get to see and witness the curing process of that
Oh,
tobacco.
they see the whole, yeah, they see the whole process. They see the process of when they start burning the big, massive pile of wood. I believe it's hickory oak. It might be mesquite. I always forget the third one. And it's a massive, massive pile behind the barn. And that thing goes up in flames. And as it goes burning down and smoldering, they go scooping it up and put it in piles inside that barn and shut the barn shut. And that smoke just continues to rise up, and it goes curing that tobacco, and then that's how you get that unique flavor that tobacco has. So it's a really cool experience, really really cool.
Now, how long is that curing process?
Oh man, I believe they do 24 hours and they open up and they do another 24 hours. It's it's something like that.
Hmm.
It a lot depends on the weather and how the tobacco is turning in there. If it's rainy, if it's cold. I mean, I remember some of those Kentucky barn smokers I've gone over there, especially the first one. I had shorts and a linen shirt, and man, it was like 50 something degrees that day. And a buddy of mine happened to have a big enough jacket in the trunk of his car that I was able to wear, because you just never know. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, other times it's rainy. So it a lot depends on how the weather is at the time of the curing.
Yeah, I'm sure in most processes, with tobacco, time and there's a lot of variables, but that especially um, sounds like it could be just a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? Meticulous on the variables on that. So, but very interesting. Yeah, and you're right. I didn't even really think of that too. Like, wow, that really would be a very interesting experience to be a part of. That whole cured, the
Mhm.
Kentucky Fire Cured is it's very cool. So yeah, maybe we'll make it down there. I don't know. We still got time left in the year. We have a couple of things we're trying to do. Maybe we could still fit that one in. I don't know. But Willie, thank you again for being here with us tonight. I feel
Absolutely.
we covered a lot, as much as we could, right, in this hour. So thank you, and hopefully we'll have you back on again in the future. But to everyone at home who's watching and listening, thank you for being here with us tonight. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Visit smokintabacco.com for more news and information from the cigar industry. We'll be back next week. Take care.
Bye, everyone.